Martin from the Philippines. We're here in Real Talk Lifeline. So here with a quick live. So what we're gonna be doing today is answering a challenge of the day. So people watching the live or the replay, feel free to share your personal experience, or maybe you got a lesson that could help with the challenge of the day. And what is the challenge of the day? Challenge of the day: how to regulate my emotions during mental breakdown, because I feel like I'm all by myself. So again, people watching the live or the replay, if you already have an answer for that based on personal experience, feel free to share in the comments down below. So all I can share is from my personal experience for this challenge of the day. Maybe a few years ago, or fairly recent, I probably wouldn't even know how to answer this challenge of the day. So what do we do when we feel like our emotions are going out of control because we feel like we're having a mental breakdown? So quick tips. Again, this is just based on my experience. Number one, the fastest tip that I would give is, I learned this one from my mentor, Coach Bam. So I'm gonna take a seat. And then what you can do when you have an emotional or like a mental breakdown and you want to regulate is, this is the fastest tip I got. Again, I learned from Coach Bam. I was doing life coaching training with him. All he does is he says, take a deep breath and let it go. So why do I mention that? Even one breath, sometimes when I just did that, you feel the difference already. Now I took a seat, I closed my eyes to do that. It just feels more natural doing that way. Now, if your challenge for the day is, it's really how to regulate my emotions during mental breakdown, because I feel like I'm all by myself, is, this is another tip. Tip number two I learned, and I learned this just maybe 2 years ago. Ironically, I learned this from breathwork training when I got into ice baths, and also from yoga. So what they call this is Wim Hof breaths. So that's the breath work. So we do deep breaths also. So you keep continuing. It's like a wave where one breath ends, the other one begins. A Wim Hof breath cycle usually goes around 30 breaths. And you don't have to go 30 at once. Start with 5, start with 10, 15. And why I would say this works actually from personal experience was, one night ago, I actually started feeling very nauseated. I felt like vomiting. I felt nausea. I don't know if I overate something, or it felt like food poisoning. So it was pretty bad. I walked outside to the garage, open air, and then I started doing that breath work, the Wim Hof breaths. So, third tip actually is, if that's a little too intense for you, and you want to do something more calming, the third tip, so I learned this more from the yoga, also breath work, they call it Ujjayi breath. So all that is simply is, it's the calming breath. So we take a deep breath in, and then when you let it go with a sound, so sometimes when you let it go, you actually feel from the chest, you feel emotions also lifting or releasing. So again, this is like a critical state. The challenge of the day stated here is how to regulate my emotions during mental breakdown, because I feel like I'm all by myself, so without the help of anyone else. So I have personally practiced and done this, and it worked at least one time. Another tip why I'm sharing this is, when I do an ice bath, when people get into the ice bath, it's also a simulated anxiety attack. In other words, why? Just like the mental breakdown, the body goes into a fight or flight response, survival, or extreme stress. So we can't really think, our emotions are out of control. So these techniques, these tips actually help regulate the emotions. I also witnessed one person recently, I believe it was just a few weeks or a month ago, wherein just from this breath work, doing the practice, this person actually started crying. So it was intense. I didn't know that that could actually happen just from the breath work. Now, once you do that, this person who shared their challenge actually started with the very first step, which is awareness, to recognize. Number two is these techniques help us release. So we're going to release or regulate the emotions. So the third tip I would say is when the mind stabilizes already, when the emotions start to regulate, so we start feeling better, the third tip I would say, or the third step after that, is to reframe. So how do we reframe the situation? I'm sharing from personal experience, like that time when I felt nausea, like vomiting, food poisoning. My reframe there was, instead of I feel like I'm gonna die, it's I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm gonna get through this. I'm gonna be okay. So the reframe is just changing the thought from fear, I'm gonna die, like something crazy is happening, to a more comforting, a more positive, or like a more supportive thought. So it's, I'm gonna get through this. I got this. I'm okay. As simple as that. So after you reframe that, you get to rebuild, or you just keep continuing that cycle. So I hope that tip helped for that challenge of the day, how to regulate my emotions during mental breakdown, because I feel like I'm all by myself. These are just tips based on my personal experience, what I've learned, and the lessons I'm sharing with you. If you have any other experience or lessons on how to regulate emotions during a mental breakdown, feel free to share it in the comments below, people watching the live or the replay. So, by the way, Real Talk Lifeline is also on YouTube, so feel free to check it out. This video will also be uploaded there. So, like, subscribe if you want. Thank you. I love you, and I will see you next time.